Drug didn't drown. That's the same way Megan Bailey took her life. That could be a coincidence. No, I think they're connected. Chapter 4. The Predator and the Prey. The tranquility of the Newfoundland wilderness was shattered by the cold-blooded execution of Malcolm Carter, a low-level criminal who had made the fatal mistake of trying to blackmail the wrong man. Tyler Craner, the volatile son of a notorious drug lord, had pulled the trigger on a public wharf, never realizing a quiet hiker was watching from the shadows. Jiashi, the shadow of the Craners. Jason Craner had spent 20 years running drugs through street johns, remaining untouchable by letting others take the fall. But Tyler was a different breed, ruthless but reckless. When Tyler left a witness alive, Jason didn't turn to lawyers. He turned to Serena Rickett, a professional hitwoman from Halifax, with a terrifying history of eliminating problems. Jiashi, this isn't a standard investigation anymore, Sarah, Charlie said, his voice tight as they reached the Cape Royal trailhead. We're in a race. If Serena finds the witness first, he's a dead man. Sarah adjusted her gear, her eyes meeting his with a fierce determination. Blood on the trail. The hike into the interior was grueling. The air was heavy, with the scent of damp earth and salt, and the cell service was non-existent. As they pushed deeper into the woods, the professional masks they wore began to slip. During a brief rest, Charlie watched Sarah as she studied a topographical map. The flickering light of the forest canopy danced across her face, and for a moment the weight of the badge felt lighter. Jia, you know, Charlie murmured. I used to think I preferred working alone, just me and Rex. Sarah looked up, a small smile playing on her lips. And now? Now, he said, stepping closer. I can't imagine being out here with anyone else. The moment was shattered by a distant crack, the unmistakable sound of a high-powered rifle. Jia, the crucible of Cape Royal. They found the witness, Wyatt Dana, cowering in a small camp, but Serena was already closing in. She had used a fake detective ID to track him down, and now she was hunting them all. In the ensuing chaos, Charlie made a split-second decision. Jesse, take Wyatt and get to the bluff. You'll get a signal there. Deliva, Miley, Ensa, Wyatt, and see, Jia, what about you? Sarah cried, refusing to leave his side. Rex and I will lead her away, Charlie commanded. But the hitwoman was faster than they anticipated. A shot rang out, and Charlie collapsed, a searing pain exploding in his shoulder. Jia, Mark, you've been hit. I'm not going to leave you, Sarah screamed, kneeling beside him as blood began to soak through his jacket. Go, Sarah. The witness is the priority. Charlie gasped, his face pale with pain. But Sarah Truong was not a woman who abandoned those she loved. She helped him into cover, her hands steady as she applied pressure to the wound, her eyes never leaving the tree line. Rex's finest hour, Serena stepped into the clearing, her rifle leveled. On Charlie's silent signal, Rex launched himself from the brush with a ferocious roar. The impact sent the hitwoman sprawling, her weapon flying into the undergrowth. Jai, the sound of an approaching police helicopter drowned out the sounds of the struggle. The Craner empire was crumbling. Back at the precinct, Elroy Denny, Tyler's accomplice, had finally chosen his daughter's future over the Craner's loyalty, giving the police everything they needed to put the father and son away for decades. Jiasen, epilogue. The calm after the storm. Weeks later, the salt air at the trailer felt cleaner. Charlie sat on the small deck, his arm in a sling, watching Rex chase seagulls along the shore. The cases were closed, the Craners were behind bars, and the city was quiet for now. Jia, the door of the trailer creaked open, and Sarah stepped out, carrying 2 cups of coffee. She sat beside him, the silence between them comfortable and deep. You're supposed to be resting, detective, she teased gently. I am resting, Charlie replied, taking a sip of the coffee. He looked at her, the woman who had stood by him in the lab, on the yachts, in the distilleries, and in the line of fire. Sarah, about what happened in the woods. She placed a hand over his. We don't need to say it, Charlie. We both know. He nodded, leaning his head back against the chair. The North Atlantic was vast and unpredictable, much like the life they had chosen. But as the sun began to set over the harbor, casting a golden glow over the rugged Newfoundland coast, they knew they would face whatever came next together. "Next time," Sarah whispered, a playful glint in her eyes. "Let's pick a case that doesn't involve a hike." Charlie laughed, the sound echoing over the waves. "Deal." Beside them, Rex let out a soft, contented woof, his tail thumping against the wooden deck. The team was whole, and for the first time in a long time, the future looked as clear as a summer day on the island. Chapter 3. Mother's Ruin. The air in the Devereaux distillery was thick with the scent of pine and fermented grain, a smell Sarah usually found comforting. Now, it was tainted by the metallic tang of blood and the heavy finality of death. Willem Devereux, the iron-willed patriarch, had been found head first in a vat of his own gin, a grim irony for a man who lived and breathed the family business. "Jiasu, blunt force trauma to the head," Sarah noted, her voice echoing in the cavernous room. "But the water, or rather, the gin in his lungs, says he was alive when he went in." "Jai." Charlie stood by the copper stills, his hand resting on Rex's head. He was suffering from congestive heart failure. He only had months to live. Someone was in a hurry to usher him out. "Jiasu." The secret ingredient? The mystery deepened with the discovery of the secret ingredient for Willem's new gin blend. Using a media console as a makeshift dog-sized bar, Charlie watched as Rex unfailingly isolated a specific botanical from a lineup of glasses. "Jiasu, Labrador tea," Sarah identified, examining the dried leaves Rex found in the lab. "It's local, distinct, and in high concentrations, toxic." "Jiasu." The realization brought them closer together in the dim light of the lab. Sarah's enthusiasm for the history of Mother's Ruin and the alchemical roots of gin provided a brief, intellectual sanctuary from the grim reality of the murder. Charlie watched her, captivated by the way her mind moved through history as easily as it did through forensic data. "Jiasan, A. Family fractured." The suspects were Willem's own children. Jaden, the CFO, secretly negotiating a Japanese buyout. Alan, the marketing head who lived in his father's shadow. And Melanie, who had left the company to start her own skincare line using the same Labrador tea botanical. "Jiasi." The tension escalated when the spirits critic Simone Sawyer was found poisoned in her hotel room, a victim of tetrazoline common eye drops mixed into her gin. "Jai, someone is cleaning house," Charlie said, his eyes meeting Sarah's as they stood in the distillery hallway. The proximity felt deliberate, a shared gravity pulling them together amidst the chaos. "Jasan, the drowning of a legacy." The truth was more chilling than a simple disagreement over a will. While Alan admitted to striking his father in a moment of rage, he insisted Willem was alive when he left. It was Melanie who had found her father unconscious. Seeing an opportunity to secure her inheritance and frame her brothers, she had dragged him to the vat and held him under. "Jiasi, he tore me down my whole life," Melanie whispered as Charlie led her away. "I thought he was going to humiliate me one last time." "Jai." As the distillery fell silent, Charlie and Sarah shared a final taste of the Willem's blend gin with the team. "To Rex," Sarah toasted, her eyes lingering on Charlie. "The only one who truly knows how to navigate a family's secrets." Charlie smiled, the weight of the case lifting. "And to partners who keep us grounded when the world starts to spin." Jai. Chapter 2. The Gilded Cage. The luxury yacht Best Kind sat docked at the marina, a gleaming white monument to excess that now served as a floating crime scene. Jacob Kaufman, a wealthy investor from Toronto, had chartered the vessel for a week of business and pleasure. He was a man who understood money but struggled with humanity, a bully who took pleasure in humiliating those he deemed beneath him, which, in his mind, was everyone. Jiasi. When Charlie and Rex arrived at the docks, the salt air was thick with the scent of expensive fuel and the cold finality of death. Sarah was already there, her sharp eyes scanning the deck. "Jai, he was shot with a spear gun," Sarah said as Charlie approached, her voice steady despite the gruesome nature of the discovery. "The angle of penetration suggests the shooter was between 5'4" and 5'10". That's half the population of street. The angle